Hi everyone, this is going to be my first tutorial in a very long time and is a part of a series of tutorials I will be doing over the next year, which is a part of my 365-day project. So today I'm going to be showing you the edit I did for my first photo in this entire series. So to start, as you can see in my photo, this is a very bright image, but what I'm going to be doing is pulling it down and making it a backlit image and more of a silhouette style. So the first thing I'm going to do to get it there is go up to Filter, up here at the top, and then go down to Camera Raw Filter. So now I've got that opened, and because of the way this image is going to be transformed color-wise, I'm not going to worry about temperature or tint with this image. But I am going to worry about exposure. I'm going to drop that down to 1.10, negative 1.10. So, drop that there, and I'm going to move my contrast up to plus 42. You can start to see that's starting to make quite an impact on the way the image looks, kind of making our figures in this image, the tree and the boy, more of a silhouette. And our highlights, I'm going to move down. Right there. Shadows, I'm going to move all the way down. Really start to pump in that darkness. And with the whites, I'm going to move those up 18 just to get a little bit of kind of bump in that, that tree foliage right there. Oh, let's minus back out. There we go. And with the blacks, I am going to move those down almost all the way, like I did with the shadows. There we go. And so now I'm down here with the clarity and vibrance/saturation. So with the clarity, I am actually going to move that up. I want it to be pretty sharp. So we're going to move that up to 29. You can start to see that's really making this a very striking silhouette. And with the vibrance, I'm actually going to move that down because I think we're getting a little bit too hot with the colors right now, and I'm going to move those hot later. So let's move that down to 42. And saturation, I'm just going to leave that be. So here we go. As you can see, this is the start of our image. This is Camera Raw Filter. Because I started with a JPEG image, I am using the Camera Raw Filter. If you are working with a raw image, you can actually make all these changes in the Camera Raw without having to do the rest. Use the Camera Raw Filter. It's better. Alright, so that's the first change we did. We moved our image from there to there. Now we've got a really nice silhouette on the character, and we've kind of focused in on where our lighting's going to be in the image. So now I'm going to get started by going to Hue and Saturation. So this is the start of our color work on this image. And I really want to make this a warm image, and to do that I need to move it down to, believe it or not, purples first. Because otherwise, if I stay around here with the reds, you can kind of notice there's a little bit of a kind of a brokenness to the red coloring right there. But if we go all the way to purple, everything becomes purple, and that's going to be better for color work later. You might not make that decision in other shots, depending on how that works, but just to get a nice overtone of color, that's a really good way to go, is to make sure that the entire image shift is in a color tone that you can work with, which purple has red, which is what I'm aiming for, but is also well saturated. Saturation, I'm going to move that up. As you can see, we are getting our color back. Almost crazily so. But this is not going to be a normal image. So that does it for the hue and saturation. So again, from the start we went there, did our camera raw filter, made it nice and dark, and now we are kind of honing in on the color. So next thing I'm going to do is go into selective color. So you're going to go up here to image, adjustments, and down to selective color right here. And to start with selective color, I am going to do some work in the reds. And the work I'm going to do is I am going to push more red in, and when you're looking at these bars, cyan equals red, magenta equals green, and yellow equals blue. So the more you add to cyan, the more cyan you get. The more you take away from cyan, the more red you get. And the same with the rest of the colors. And black is always against white. So I'm adding red, and I'm also going to add magenta, which is like red. And I am also going to add some yellows in there because it is a good color to have in a warmer tones. So that's the start there, but we're not done. So I am going to go ahead and go to the yellows. So now in the yellows, I am also going to get a little more red going. And you can see when I'm moving this stuff around, you're kind of looking mostly at that back hill. I'm just trying to fix up the tone of the back hill right now with the yellows. Right there. And in the magentas, I am also going to remove magentas. And I'm going to add yellows. Really pump the yellows in. So right now we can see a preview of everything we've done so far, just kind of slowly starting to warm this image up. And in this we are also going to add some darkness to kind of add definition to that hill in the background. So we're darkening the yellows, which is adding definition to that background scenery. Right about there. And now we are going to go to the magentas. It's all the way down here. And as you can see, this image has a ton of magenta in it. So, we're going to take our cyans and we're going to get rid of them and add some more reds. Go all the way down here. Going to add more magenta into it. Kind of making the reds pop a little more. Make it less blue. And we are also going to add yellows to kind of really pump in the warmth to this color. So we'll do that around there. Okay, that's it for the magentas. Let's go to the neutrals. It's down on our list. The nice thing about selective color is you have access to not only all 6 colors, you also have access to white, neutral, and blacks, which is very useful because not very many tools in this program can do that other than this one. So we're in our neutrals, and I'm going to add some red into our neutrals. I'm going to add some more magenta really pushing this red. And I really want this to be kind of a more bloody red. And to get a bloodier looking red, you want to add yellow. Get it away from the blue end. I'm also going to add some blacks. Add a little bit of darkness to the neutrals. So there we are. The last thing I'm going to hit in here is the blacks. Now you can see this image is starting to really get contrasty and get super concentrated with color. I don't usually do this with images, but this is a very distinct image where I do that, where I really pump the color into its edge and sometimes a little bit beyond. So there's not a ton I'm going to do with the blacks here. Just a little bit of work to kind of add some tones to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of magenta, and I'm going to add a little bit of blue into the blacks to give it a little bit more atmosphere. And there we go. And from there, we are done. So for the preview, you can click this little button, selective color. That's how our image started, and that's where we are right now. So we're adding a lot more red and warm yellows into this image, while adding a little bit of blue into the blacks to give it a little atmosphere, really pumping this one full of color. So now, I'm going to start by going in to, I'm going to start on working on the sky here. And one thing I want in this image is a little bit of blue in the sky to contrast with the rest of the colors in the image. I don't want it to be very bright, so we're going to keep it pretty subtle. So to do that, I'm going to go up to here, up at our main menu, click select, go to color range, which is pretty much the only thing you can usually click on. And here in color range, I've got mine around 40 for fuzziness. You can change this depending on how you want your blues to look in there, how tight of a grab you want it to be on the color. And we are going to be grabbing whites. So I click there, then I add plus, and then I'm just going to click up here to make sure we've got a pretty good grab on it. Looks like we do. So I'm going to click OK. And now you can see in here, and hopefully you can see it on your monitor, all of the white in my image has been selected. And now I'm only dealing with that white in the image. So with that grabbed, I'm going to go over here to my color swatches on my toolbar. I'm going to click the color palette and go into the blues. I'm going to kind of go for something around this range right here, something kind of sky toned. That's a pretty good one. So now I've got a blue color selected. I'm going to go up here, and this could be paint bucket or gradient tool depending on what you have open at the moment. You want it to be the gradient tool, so this little box. You're going to go up here and you're just going to click and drag. As you can see, that added a little bit of blue into the image. And now what I'm going to do to kind of intensify that blue is I'm going to go up here and to images, adjustments, and then to hue and saturation. I'm going to go to, we're going to try blues and cyans. We'll start with cyans. Add a little bit more intensity in there, actually quite a bit on the cyans. I'm going to add 100%. And I'm going to say that's probably good. So I'm going to click OK. And so because we have that area selected, only the white selected, it's only affecting the blue that we just added. So now that that's done, I'm going to go up here, click on this lasso tool right here. You can really click on any lasso tool. And then right click and say deselect. So now you can see the blue in the sky we added in there. So it started right around here. And now we have that blue. So with that done, let's go ahead and do some selective color again. And this time we're going up to images, adjustments again, selective color, and we're going to work with the whites. So we go down to our whites here in our color menu, and I'm going to add about 28% yellow into our whites and just a little bit of red. That way our whites don't feel so stark against this color shift. It's starting to blend in a little bit more, but we still have that kind of contrast with the blues up in the upper sky. Kind of brings the image together. And now we are done. So with that selective color, we only went in to affect the whites after we added the blue to the sky. Okay, now we are going to go in with color balance. So again, up to image, adjustments, color balance. So with color balance, we're going to start with our shadows, and let me tell you a little bit about the distinction between color balance and selective color. Selective color tends to be a pretty unbiased color editor. It won't change the tones of the colors you're working on, but color balance will. So color balance will make things brighter or darker depending on whether or not you're in shadows, midtones, or highlights when you're shifting. So if you don't want to add any extra brightness to your image, you usually want to do your work with selective color. But with color balance, it can add a little bit of atmosphere to work and get those shifts at the same time. So now that I've done most of my color editing, I'm going to be using this. So I'm going to add a little bit more blue. Right around there. You can see that. I don't know if you can even see that shift on, but you'll see it on your own monitor if you're playing. And then after that, I'm going to go in with my midtones, and I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow. After that, I'm going in with my highlights, and I'm going to add some red into my highlights, and the main brunt of this is going to be adding yellows. So right around there. So when we started in color balance, we looked like this, a little bit darker. This adds a little bit of extra brightness into things. Okay. So now that we're done with that, we'll click OK. And now I'm going to go into hue and saturation, because I'm looking at the sky here and I'm thinking we need to add a little bit of brightness into the sky's yellows. So go image, adjustments, and then hue and saturation. And we're just going to add a little bit of saturation to the overall image. And then after that, I'm going to go into selective color again. So I'm going to click OK, go to selective color, one last time, go to the yellows. So in the yellows, I'm going to add a bunch of red. We're going to warm this right up. Let's see, there we go. And we're going to add a bunch of yellow too. So we went from here to here. And we are almost there now, but I'm going to go back into color balance one more time. So click OK. We're going to go to adjustments, color balance, and now I am going to make one more go to highlights and add just a little bit of extra brightness in there. And then go to my midtones and add a little bit of extra yellow into those as well. There we go. Now we're really hitting where I left this image. So click OK. And now there's only a few things left to do with this image to get it to the point I did for my 365-day project first image. And to do that, I'm going to have to do a rotation on it. So, as you can see, this image is a little bit crooked when I took it. When I took this image, I was almost like flat on the ground, and it was pretty hard to get the camera in the right position to, while not being able to look through it to get this angle right. So I'm going to do a slight canvas rotation. To do that, I'm going to go up to Image, Image Rotation down here, Arbitrary. And I've actually already done this image once today for a test for this tutorial. So, what I did is a 3% angle rotation clockwise. Click OK. There we go. So now I need to crop it and just bring it in as close as I can. Let's see if I can't bring it out just a little bit right here. Again. Okay. So I'll click crop. There we are, after a right click. So now the image is just about done. The one last thing I'm going to do is a little bit of burning around the edges of the image to kind of push the focus a little bit away from these hot leaves and more into the subject right here. So to do that, you go over to your toolbar and you want to use your burn tool, which is this one. And if it's not there, you can right click on that symbol area and then click on the burn tool. And I've already got my tool size nicely sized. I'm going to start by going to the highlights. So up here, I click this drop down menu, click highlights, exposure 26, that is fine for now. And then I'm going to burn over the areas that I want to shadow out a little bit. So work on the highlights and these leaves right here. Burn that down a little bit. There we go. That's starting to kind of focus in where we're looking. And now I'm going to go back up here, click midtones, and then just do a quick little brush around the edge. I'm actually going to go use my history brush now to just brush out a little bit of that in the center. So to do that, I'm going to click here on this menu on that little square above these burn tools. Go up here, click on the history brush, and a lot of you will probably use layers and do this in the layer method, which is to make an adjustment layer. And now that I have this selected 50%, that's fine. I'm going to click right here. Just kind of and I'm going to actually turn this down up here now that I did one. Get it to 20. There we go. That's better, I think. Maybe not as darkened. There we go. That is the final image. That is about as close as I'll probably get to my original edit. And I hope you guys enjoy that. Just to give you a little bit of that before and after effect, this is our first image. This is the image I took out in the park. And this is the image that I put up in the end on my 365-day project. I hope you enjoy. If you like this tutorial, feel free to subscribe. I'll be putting out a lot more tutorials soon, including some that are a lot more beginner friendly, just talking about the individual tools. Thank you for watching. Enjoy!